Canada, the weasel, that little weasel Trudeau, and I'm being very disrespectful, he's allowed the Canadians on the West Coast to install sensitive electronic equipment under the water to listen to our submarine base.
Absolutely. And
I think weasel, and
yes.
every weasel Canadian that voted for him, who do they think protects them with 80 battle tanks and 60 fighter aircraft? Who do you think they could stop with that kind of an army? That'd be nobody.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Over the years on talk radio, I couldn't know what I know, just like you have people that tell you stuff, Greg. I have people that tell me stuff going on record. But the Canadians and those who were, if you will, in the deep background of the New World Order have supposedly made a deal with both the Chinese and the Russians.
And not all the Canadians. Not all the Canadians.
I'm talking about the Trudeauites,
yes,
okay?
I'm talking the Weaselites.
The Weaselites, okay? And because I'm trying to be kinder and nicer, I won't say what I really think of them. But listen, the Canadians have a right to know, did Justin Trudeau convert to Islam? Yes, he did. Is he making a way for ISIS at the expense of Canadians? Is he persecuting Christians? Yes, he is. Is he absolutely behind, if you will, a fifth column being brought into Canada, known ISIS members? And is he setting up, if you will, a frontal assault upon the United States, and has he made a deal with the devils? And I believe the answer to that is yes.
He is a supreme weasel, and anybody that votes for that is an idiot. I got to tell you, and it's because he wants to open up a dual front, just like Hitler in Germany. You know, he had to fight two fronts: the Russians on one side, and the Brits and the Americans, and what was left of the French army on the other side. So, but that's not going to work out well for him. That's not going to work out well for Canada.
And what would you say to know the money we spend on our nuclear subs, one key part of our triad, our defense, having the Chinese putting in military listening posts off of Canada's northwestern border to the United States, southwestern border to the United States, and being able to track the motion of submarines. Listen, the amount of money that's spent in satellite, ASAT, and tracking of submarines is astronomical. And yet nobody that I know of in the Pentagon, if I were the president, I'd call my Joint Chiefs and I'd have a meeting and saying,
I'd strike it. I'd attack it. I'd attack it and let Canada say something about it. I would.
Yeah.
I'd destroy it.
Why is there silence, okay? And then remember when Obama was firing all of the commanders, the generals and the admirals?
Yeah, that's been turned around,
Yeah, that is confirmed. But listen, do you remember also, Greg, he made them take an oath of allegiance to him? My question is, how many of those guys still exist in the U.S. military? And haven't we just heard that even General Mattis is on the chopping block, potentially? So let me ask you, how can you drain the swamp when you've got a swamp breeding program within your own State Department? When you have an intelligence agency that cooperated and the leading law enforcement to throw you out before you even got elected? How can you trust those guys? And when you've got an attorney general that seemingly recused himself on the Russia thing, and the whole Russia thing, look, it was the Hillary Clinton selling us down the drain to the Russians in our uranium production, and all of those issues that Trump advisors should have seized on the opportunity to show people the root of evil, not the fruit of evil. And that's what you and I are talking about today. It's the root of evil. And I'm sorry, I believe there's hope. I believe God always has a ram in the bush. That means his people who look to him, he will lead them, guide them. And, isn't it interesting? The Bible says that God's people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Now you've got a war in Christianity. You've got a war in the Catholic Church. When I said that 25 years ago, and by the way, the war that's in the Catholic Church will turn into a shooting war. You see, Greg, nobody wants to talk about this stuff. Nobody wants to admit that if the foundations be destroyed, I didn't say this, Solomon said this, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? And when the wicked rule, the righteous languish. And now you've got total lawlessness, which is a mystery of iniquity that the Apostle Paul spoke about. Lawlessness, and it's no mystery anymore. Lawlessness is when each man does that which is right in their own sight. And now you've got a generation that's growing up that knows only one thing, that rebellion is cool. But the snowflakes have got to understand that when the sun comes out in extreme heat, they're going to melt. And I believe that sun is coming out in not a, if you will, cosmic setting, but in a war setting.
But you...
And I'm sorry, again, I'm not hopeless, but I'm just telling people they better get it, that they better understand that this is a civil war in the making and is being stoked by foreign powers and foreign money.
And you think it'll be an asymmetrical civil war? You won't have like a battle line with the North and the South. I mean, this is going to be a civil war all over the country. Is that how you would describe it, or tell me how you would describe it?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. Asymmetrical, i.e. guerrilla warfare, followed by invasion. Now, again, people don't even go there, and we're you think? I want to back up. Yep.
Guerrilla warfare followed by invasion. Invasion by who? From where?
Both Russia and China, and I'll tell you who will be joining them. This will make people upset, but Germany has a large dislike for the United States now, and if you understand why, look at what Angela Merkel has done to Germany, look at what's happening in Germany, look at what's happening in all of Western Europe, and then imagine that those same forces that are using the turmoil within the different countries to initiate a global jihad, because here's the deal. People have got to understand the New World Order is about out with the old world, the old world order, basically the foundation of Christianity and that which made, I would say, the world a better place, to substitute a Luciferian, elitist world and the destruction of mankind. Look, Greg, when we talk about AI, artificial intelligence, we talk about assassination algorithms. And I wrote about it in my book, Terminated, which, by the way, people love that book because it's telling what's going on. And you go to the front of Drudge, and every day there's something more dire about autonomous killing machines. What happens when autonomous robots start programming other autonomous robots apart from, quote, human constraint? I'm going to tell you what happens. It's you get the Terminated movie. Now, some people say, well, you're really negative. Well, I can tell you this. When you tell the truth, the response to the truth initially is denial. A good example. When they were blaming Russia for using Novichok, I'm going to hold up a book here. It's no longer in print. It's called Breathe No Evil. This one got me in a lot of trouble. It's about understanding biological terrorism and chemical weapons, etc. On the back, 17 years ago, Greg, I said this. Coupled with this threat are the new Novichok series of chemical weapons that the Soviets have designed. As little as 500 pounds can kill 500,000 people. Can you read the handwriting on the wall? By the way, Novichok meant newcomer, and it was a binary chemical weapon. 17 years ago, all of a sudden it shows up in the press in the last 6 months. Again, Novichok, a supposed chemical weapon that the Russians are using on their enemies or spies they want to take out. It's no way. The after effects of Novichok, and they're not going to leave that out there. So here's what I'm saying. The control of the mainstream media is for the destruction of the United States. Everything that we stand for. It's what Michael Savage has been saying, borders, language, culture. And people still don't understand that when you come into a country, look at any place else in the world. You just can't go into any place else in the world. You get visas, you get to stay. And I'm not against legal immigration. I am against the advance guard of the Trojan, and let's call it what it is, immigration army of conquest. The Trojan immigration army of conquest.
And you think the mainstream media is the big arm that helps them?
Well, absolutely, because again, what do most people know? Only what they're told. Let me have a drink here, I'm sorry. Only what they're told. And who was it? Somebody famous in history, maybe it was Goering or Goebbels, one of the Nazis, said, thank God, which I don't think they were thanking the God, that people don't think anymore. And look at how easy it has been to get Antifa, Black Lives Matter. Look at how easy it's been to turn the police against the people and the people against the police. So the thing is that, in my opinion, based on history, we are undergoing the first phase of the initiating of a total civil war. When you got Nancy Pelosi using military terms, calling for, getting rid of their political enemies as collateral damage, collateral damage is when the military bombs the hell out of some place or some things and the innocent get killed. And that's the point. People need to go back and do their homework on the Weather Underground in the 70s and Larry Grathwohl's wonderful interview, Grathwol, I think.
Yeah, he said that he sat in a room and listened to them say that they had to kill 25 million people to get their way. Their
way was a socialist communist takeover of the United States. And by the way, I think it was 30 million. It doesn't matter, but if you take that in today's population versus the population where it was, that's up to 100 million. So the thing that I think is critical for people to understand is they've got to get out and they've got to vote. If you believe that the Democrats have the answer, and by the way, spineless rhinos, Republicans in name only, i.e. Rhino. What is it? Paul Ryan the spineless one, and those who have taken on the continual harassment of the president, and also the defense intelligence agencies and the different, not only defense intelligence, DIA, but CIA, NSA, all of those people that are outspoken, from the former directors of the CIA, NSA, the whole hatred that's shown to the President of the United States. What they say when they want to return to normal is they want to return to their control and their plan for the destruction of the United States of America. Believe it or not, the Deagle survey, Deagle's like the RAND Corporation on a lesser scale, is talking about a 70% depopulation of the United States over the next 10 years or sooner. So how do they come up with those numbers? Now we've got the situation, I got to touch on this, Greg, because we only have so much time, that people have got to understand that these biological oddities that are showing up, whether it's a recurrence of polio, whether it's an outbreak of hoof and mouth disease, I think it's at Dartmouth College? Hoof and mouth disease. We're seeing the words of Paul Harvey coming to pass. And one of the things that he said is, if I were the devil, and people should look this up, Paul Harvey on the internet, if I were the devil, he said, if I were the devil, the prince of darkness, what methods of deception would I use to rule the world? If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves. So it's pretty succinct, and I think he said that in the late 60s. That's where we're at. And so what do we do? You do what you do on talk radio to warn and hopefully turn. And I, of all people, would not have been on talk radio going through all the baloney, B-U-L-L-O-N-E-Y, that I've had to put up with on talk radio to try and get people to arrive. Now, of course, when you tell them something, Greg, and they finally come to that conclusion, then it's an original thought. But now we're at the point where we're seeing the plan, the implementation, whether it's a new strain of Ebola, whether it's the open source code for Ebola pox or mouse pox, or some new variant of the Spanish flu in 1918, and the ability of biochemists in their basement, pretty much with enough money and the right equipment, they can launch attacks in this country that most people can't even grasp. So I tell people, and obviously as a Bible-believing Christian, this is the most important election in your life, in your children's life, and if their grandchildren are meaningful to you in their life. You cannot allow Hollywood and the New York Times and Clinton News Network and the mainstream media that's coming up with all these. Did you ever think, Greg Hunter, you would see a New York Times article, a short story on different people writing about killing Trump coming from his own Secret Service? That happened the other day in the New York Times. Truly
evil, my friend. The New York Times is proving over and over again they're not the news. They're not the paper of record. They are the propaganda. They are the absolute evil incarnate. for them to publish something like this. And then they say, oh, it was some stupid without fear or favor, or, what's the Washington Post? The truth dies in the dark. Yeah, no, the truth dies with propaganda. And you guys are it.
Well,
Bob Woodruff, give back your Pulitzer. You're a weasel. You're a supreme weasel.